Hi everyone. When people see a police car, quite often they feel as though they've done something wrong and they instantly slow down, even when they haven't. And very few reasonable people, if they see a police car and they have been going too fast, try and escape. Now, this footage has been sent in by a viewer, but it's not his footage. It's from the police car who caught him doing 128 miles an hour. Let's have a look at this. The police car is sat at junction 1 on the M58 and it's watching traffic leaving Liverpool. If we look at the display on the bottom left hand corner, it's the 31st of the 10th, 2017. My viewer is travelling in the same direction as the white Ford and he's approaching in lane 2. There he goes. Look at the bottom of the screen now. He's just been clocked at 128.3 miles an hour and now the police are going for him. The police themselves are getting up to some amazing speeds just trying to catch my viewer. They're not actually helped a little bit further up as well by the black car that pulls into lane 2. But they're still on it. As you can see, the camera quality isn't brilliant, but the police officers must have spotted my viewer leaving at this next exit, so they know where he's gone and they're going to follow. The police use all their skills to get the car slowed from 130 miles an hour before the roundabout. And there's our viewer who wasn't able to slow down in time. Within 30 seconds he's been detained and led away. My viewer sent in this clip with the hope that it's going to deter someone from making the same silly decisions that he made. First of all, we'll deal with the ambulance. I think we're okay. Yep. So yeah, like I was saying, the viewer sent in this clip with the hope, have a look at those, going through on red after that. That's not allowed, everyone. Just remember that one as well. Extra little learning point from my videos. Didn't plan that obviously, but it happens. Going back to what I was saying, my viewer sent in this clip with a hope it's going to deter people from making the same silly decisions. First of all, for travelling at those ridiculous speeds, and secondly, from the decision he made from trying to get away. He was really forthcoming with all the information about this incident. I had a lovely phone call conversation with him where he was more than glad to answer any questions I had about this incident. My viewer joined the M58 motorway from Switch Island, where we are now, but he wasn't coming from this direction that I'm coming from. He was coming from this road from the left, which is the main road that joins Bootle Docks and comes out towards the motorway. So he came from this direction. Now, he was late for an appointment and this was his reasoning for going so quick. He did have a fairly new company car for him at the time. It was a BMW, as you probably saw in the clip, and it was the older model to the one that I've got now. It's the F30 model, but it was still the 320 diesel, the same vehicle as this, so I know they can go a bit for a 2-litre diesel. And because he was late, like I said, he decided to put his foot down. There isn't long between the start of the motorway to where my viewer actually got caught speeding. And although the weather's atrocious today, it looked reasonable on the day in question. But it's this junction that we've got a little over a mile in front of us to where the police were sat. There's markings on the floor here, and we'll see them as we go past this junction. It's these white lines that we can see now, and these white lines to this bridge will be recorded at a set distance by the police, and that's how they can work out his average speed. And as you can see how long it's taken me to go through, and I'm doing 58 miles an hour, you can see how long it took him. He was traveling. So it was junction 3, or this one coming up now in a mile, that our camera decided to take. He told me that he didn't know this particular junction, so I suppose he was just trying to get away and maybe try and throw the cops. But for the cops to be doing the speeds that they were doing on this section, and I think at one point they were doing in excess of 135 miles an hour, he must have been going some, even on this section, for it to take so long for the police to catch him. So we took this junction off. We don't see any footage of my viewer heading off, but he must have been going way too quickly. And there's a few things that I'd like to point out about this slip road. Now, it is downhill, as we'll see in a second, and it can be quite tricky. And even the police car, when it exited off the motorway, you can see it was doing some incredible speeds. Seems to me as though the police car had a little bit of a wobble under braking as they were coming down this slip road, so it can catch it out. Now, I'm just going to move to the right lane because I'm going to go all the way around the roundabout so we can actually drive past. But as you can see, it's quite steeply downhill and this bend is quite sharp. This was the point where my viewer was really upset with himself, because this view to the right hand side, as you could see there as we were coming up, is really blind. You can't see until very late. So these cars coming from this side would have very little chance of seeing the blue BMW careering onto this exit. And this was where he ended up. My viewer was arrested, obviously, as soon as this incident ended in this roundabout. But when a few more officers arrived, they were really surprised, because he wasn't the stereotypical person who was going to run from the police. Shirt and tie. All right, maybe you could argue BMW driver. However, it's not necessarily that type of person who's going to be trying to escape from the police. He got taken back to Maghull police station, and he said that all the police officers were really nice. At the police station, he was charged with dangerous driving. Now, this next little piece of the video that I'm going to explain, he didn't really want to go out, but I convinced him that it was probably going to be a help to the whole video and educating people on what has gone on and what's happened. But he didn't get convicted of dangerous driving. He actually only got a conviction for careless driving. He only got 5 points on his licence and a £293 fine. Now, I know there's going to be many of you who are already starting to type to say that's a disgrace, but hang on a minute. I did ask him why he thought that he didn't want this included, and he said, well, it's embarrassing that he could have killed someone. Down on that roundabout that we've just been to, I've just explained that the view is awful. What if someone had been coming round? But quite often when things go to court, the judge looks at all the situation, and he was a professional man. He surely would have lost his job and not been able to do his job if he'd have got a ban or even jail time, and they do take this into account. I did ask him whether he thought that the fines and the points that he got was suitable for him, and did it change his mindset. And he answered yes. But I also asked him whether or not that fine and those points would be suitable for everyone. And he was quite quickly in answering no. At the time of filming, my viewer had been driving for approximately 14 years, and he was a self-confessed car nut. He loved his cars. He did admit that he had speeded before, but never to that extent. But I asked him a few questions on what was going through his mind when he first saw the police. And he said to me he panicked. You can see him brake when he obviously recognises that there's a police car above the actual motorway. And then he said his sort of mindset changed massively with the speeds that he was doing, and he admitted doing upwards near 150 miles an hour, both prior to seeing the police car and after seeing the police car. So when he'd been spotted, it actually went through his mind whether or not that he'd been seen and whether or not that the police car was actually coming after him. So we actually changed from panic to, well, if I get caught, I'm going to go to jail. And he actually said to me that it was a sort of, it couldn't get any worse feeling that came across that made him drive in the way that he drove after he'd been spotted. And he also said, not that it's right, and he didn't mean it to come across in any poor way, but he actually said it was a sort of, I've started, so I'll finish. So the police car was sat up at the top, up here. I'm not sure exactly where. It may have been on this little area to the right. And this was the slit road where you can see, it may have even been on the left there. There's a few tyre marks, and you can see the marks there where the ambulance has just gone past, like I explained before. So this was the route that the police car took to try and catch up with my viewer. To send in the footage of this clip in the first place takes a fair bit of bravery. We all know how nasty YouTube comment sections can be on occasions. But I've got utter respect for my viewer for sending this clip in. I did ask him what his driving is like now, and he said it's changed immeasurably. And I can understand that fully, because even when speaking to him on the phone, I was making reference to certain other clips that I'd put out and certain other videos that I put out, and he knew all of them. And he's an avid watcher of my channel. So he wants to learn, he wants to get better. He also said he doesn't speed anymore. It doesn't gain you much time, if any. And I'm glad that realization has dropped with him. Brilliant. I wish it dropped with more people as well, because it doesn't get you there any quicker. I could have been bombing down this road. I'm still going to sit at these lights for the time until they change. So it's not going to get you to your destination a lot of the time any quicker. And I'm glad this has stuck with him. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, well, no, he should have gone to jail. But when people have committed an offence like this and no one's been injured, no one's been hurt, education's always the key. There's too many people out there who are just praying for a conviction all the time. And education is always a better option in situations like this. A conviction sometimes doesn't stop people, but education has an 8 times the chance of the person not doing the same thing again. That's why they offer these driver education courses for certain things. Now, I'm not saying for every scenario. For every scenario should be treated upon its own merits, and sometimes if people have been killed or injured, yes, a conviction is in my opinion, the only option. But you don't need to convict people every single time. If this guy's not going to do the same thing again, and also if he's sent in the clip to try and help other people not make that same mistake, I think this is actually a result. Because if you think about it, he was really lucky that no one was coming on that roundabout. He was also extremely lucky for many things as well. The car insurance happily paid for the cost of repair on his vehicle, and that was £16,000. Although it was company car insurance, the insurance still picked up the tab. He didn't lose his job either. The company that he worked for allowed him to resign, so it wasn't on his permanent record. He was able to get another job pretty much straight away also. So this guy had someone looking down on him. But not everyone's going to be this lucky. Keep that in mind if the same situation ever occurs for yourself. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.